What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes. This is gonna be my Forma building guide for this month's Hall of Forms featuring Thracia 776 units, Kempf, Sara, Ronan, and Asbel. There are 7 new skills added to the Hall of Forms pool, including the very rare and coveted skills like Canto Control, Distant Dart, and Speed Defense Tempo. So the first unit we're going to be taking a look at is going to be Kempf. He is a Grail option and he's actually a pretty popular merge project, and back in the Ether Raids days when save skills were not a thing, Kempf was used quite a bit because of his weapon, Venom Edge. This allows him to do 10 damage and inflict flash status to his target and foes within 2 spaces of that target. So this allowed Kempf users to really discourage tanking against their teams because the flash status would be really annoying for any kind of tank, as they're not going to be able to counterattack and then get bombarded by the attacks of the entire team. So his main niche has always existed in Ether Raid's defense and also in Pawns of Loki, where he is definitely a pretty formidable unit. But as time went on, he did fell a bit because we got the save skills, so he can still run Wind Sweep and try to inflict flash status on a lot of these low armor tanks. But still, because save ball teams can just stack up so much bulk by using Flame, Elimine, and just so many other options, even if they are flash, they can still survive against the enemy's team and prevent any kind of sniping. But with Ether Raid's Chaos, he might seem a bit more usage because only 1 save skill is allowed. But even then, Nifl did come out, and Nifl also has the flash status in her weapon, which she can inflict. She doesn't really do this splash damage, but still, she provides incredible support with Domain of Ice, which is going to be really helpful for your Ether Raid's defense team for surviving with that damage reduction. Not to mention, Nifl is way faster than Kempf, so a lot of times she can deny the doubles from really fast units as well. So this allows her to make use of Wind Sweep much better than Kempf. And then Walhart also got an insane weapon refine that makes him into a Pawns of Loki god because he doesn't even have to initiate combat to inflict the flash status. So Kempf definitely has been struggling for, a while now, but he's going to be getting a weapon refine in a year. So maybe he could, bounce back and get a really good weapon refine. If you're a big fan of him, or if you really like his smug voice lines, then this could be a chance of getting the premium skills on him if you have him as a merge project. As a one-off copy, I wouldn't recommend Kempf, only go for him if you're trying to plus and merge him and heavily invest into him. So Kempf is usually going to be used in Ether Raid's defense, and even though he's going to be used there with Wind Sweep, trying to get some of the premium slot B skills like Flow Guard is going to be really helpful. You can also try and get some alternate premium weapons on him, even though, Venom Edge is really unique. So you can try and get Ninja Katana, Rain Sword, or Unbound Blade, and you just want to prefer having some kind of offensive slot A skill like Surge Sparrow, Attack Speed Push, or Attack Speed Catch on his slot A. All of these are really good options, and Surge Sparrow is incredibly rare and does have good synergy with this kind of player face build. Flow Guard is extremely rare and it's only present on Thor, so it's very hard to come by, and this could be an option so that he can survive more by inflicting the guard effect on the enemy and then also getting partial null follow-up. But keep in mind that a lot of the bulky armor tanks are still going to be able to kill him without any kind of trouble. So ultimately, I feel like a lot of people are going to be choosing to run Wind Sweep, but still this is a good premium option to get. By far the best slot C skill for him is going to be Fatal Smoke. Now even if Kempf dies, he's going to be inflicting the flash status on the enemy, but unfortunately for making use of Fatal Smoke, he will have to survive, so it can actually go pretty well with the Wind Sweep build, and Fatal Smoke just adds onto the status that he can inflict on the enemy, and just stopping the healing of the saved tanks can be really good with the flash status that he can inflict on them, and also the splash damage that he does with his weapon. And then you can also try and get a more mixed phase option like Attack Speed Catch 4 and a Neo Trace skill in a slot B. Attack Speed Catch does have good synergy with the flash status that you can inflict, but it is going to be having the anti-synergy with the splash damage. But still, it is dual phase and does provide you with the most offenses. And I do like Flow Guard a lot more than Neo Trace on Kempf, but still, Neo Trace is going to be a very good option just for the general content on Kempf. And if Kempf ends up getting a more combat-oriented weapon refine in a year, then this Neo Trace skill is going to be aging to be really good on him. Sara sets a huge precedence for Hall of Forms in my opinion, because we didn't get a single staff unit ever since Bridal Fjorm, the time when we got our first free Forma Soul. So ever since then they didn't really put any kind of healer, and now that the recovery skills are not really as good in the presence of safe defense, I guess they're trying to put these kinds of healers back again. So Sara actually ends up being a pretty good premium healer because of her Kia staff. And she is very unique because of Kia staff erasing the isolation and the negative effects in general from your allies. Now unfortunately this effect is only going to be applicable to the lowest HP ally among them. So in Aether defense she does have that niche with Kia staff, but you'll have to HP match your allies so that they can have the same HP and they can all get the benefit of Kia staff and the +6 attack and speed buff that she can provide. But even a lot of times just giving the Kia staff support to your dancers and preventing isolation on them can be really helpful. So Sara can be a good one-off option even with your Forma Soul, and now that we have Canto Control in the skill pool, she can actually get that and just double down on her niche in Aether defense. But if you don't really care too much about Aether defense, then Sara is really not going to be standing out much to you. And there's also the fact that Elimine can shut off her Kia staff unless she can stack up enough resistance, so that is also one of the things which you have to keep in mind. So Sara's skills are pretty straightforward because she is a healer and she's going to be using Kia staff most of the time, but you can try and get a premium staff that can help you maybe in some other game modes or just some in other matchups. So Grand Scratcher Plus could be an option that you can get because this can pre-charge specials of your allies. Observant Staff is also a premium staff that you can try and get. And Tannin Baton could also be pretty good if you want to use her in Rooker Siege, I guess, and you want to have that guard effect consistently on the Rooker unit. And for her assist, you can try and get Nudge Plus, which is a bit different than Return Plus, so that could be an option, but overall it's kind of flexible. And because she can buff up +6 attack and speed with her Kia staff, Earth Water Bomb Plus could be a good option so that you can buff up all stats of an ally. And then offensively in her slot A, attack speed ideal is going to be the most offensive skill that a staff unit can get, and it does have good synergy with the fact that she can run Dazzling Staff, so she can maintain that HP condition. But attack speed unity can also work, and especially for Aether defense where people are going to be using debuffs on Temari, Air, or maybe some kind of sabotage attack, Elimine, this unity skill could help you. Fortress Defense Res is also an option if you want to run a sabotage skill in her slot B later on, or if you want to dodge the res check of Elimine's false start. So it could be an option if you want to make sure that her Kia staff goes off. For her slot B, there are not too many options, and again it's kind of flexible because she already has Dazzling Staff and her HP is not going to be high enough for using Odd Pulse Tie that easily, especially at low investment. I guess it could be an option at higher investment, but for the most part, for most people, it is flexible slot B. So you can try and get loud speed resistance, as it could be an alternate premium option. And if you're going to be picking up Sara, then Canto Control is pretty much the best option. It is so rare from Medius, a mythic unit, and just doubling down on her support is going to be helpful. You could try and use her in Summoner Duels S, I guess, but I'm not the biggest fan of using her in Summoner Duels, and I think her main niche is pretty much going to be in Aether defense. So try to get Canto Control if you're going to be getting Sara, because she can double down on her supportive niche for Aether defense really hard with this skill. Asbel is a green infantry mage with Graph Caliber, which does provide him effective damage against flyers and also has -1 special cooldown. His weapon can give him +5 to all of his stats and also neutralizes any kind of foe's bonuses. Unfortunately, Asbel faces insane competition in this class from Legendary Male Byleth, from Young Merrick, from Luwin even, who has got a pretty good weapon refine. Not to mention Legendary Celica, who's going to be getting a weapon refine at some point. Legendary Male Byleth and Young Merrick can run Windsweep in their slot B, and we did get Young Merrick in the Hall of Forms as well, and Legendary Male Byleth was present on Hero Rise's banner. So because of that, Asbel can work alright as a unit, but he doesn't really stand out much in his class. But if you want to build him up with premium skills, then here are the options. He's going to be using Graph Caliber most of the time, but still he can try and get some premium tomes just for the fun and aesthetic. So Snow Globe and Grand Vulture could be an option, or Plagian Torch, I guess. For his slot A, you can run Attack Speed Unity, which does have good synergy with his weapon and the proximity, and it does protect you from the attack speed debuffs, so it can be a pretty good option that is also rare. Attack Speed Ideal does give you the max offenses, but unlike Legendary Male Byleth and Young Merrick, he's not going to be able to maintain the HP condition that easily because he's not going to be running Windsweep. but still it could be an option if you want to get that. And finally, if you want to use him in Ether 8's defense, or if you just want to make him bulky, then Sturdy Impact could be an option, and that could go well with the fact that he can ignore the visible buffs of the opponent. But overall, I do prefer having a more offensive skill on him, and Attack Speed Unity is my personal favorite. For his slot B, he already has Null Follow-Up in his base kit, and he's not going to be using lull skills because Caliber can already ignore foes' buffs, so the options are kind of limited. So you can try and get Special Spiral as your alternate premium option, and this could work with AoE specials if you just want to use him for some PvE clears, maybe in a limited battle, so it could be a good skill to pick up. And Time Pulse is his best slot C skill, which can pre-charge 2 cooldown specials like Ruptured Sky, Moonbow, and Glimmer, so I definitely recommend getting that. Ronan is the final unit from this batch, and he's a blue infantry archer with Indignant Bow, and this weapon gives him +3 resistance and also gives him the Spendthrift effect pretty much, giving him +6 attack in combat and inflicting -6 attack debuff on the foe. He can also neutralize penalties to his own attack and neutralize the bonuses on foes' attack. And overall, Ronan is a pretty interesting unit because he's basically like a mage counter with his extremely high resistance but very low defense, and offensively he doesn't really stand out too much compared to the blue infantry threats that we have like Uller, Ledgering Crom, and Ledgering Lucina, who did recently get a weapon refine. So unfortunately, Ronan is not going to be seen that much, but I guess in Ether 8's Chaos he could be paired with a near safe tank, and you could use him for his mage tanking niche. But still, mages are not the only range units you're going to be facing. You're also going to have to face a lot of bow units and dagger units, but against them he's going to be taking a ton of damage. Ronan already has some good premium skills, but keep in mind that he cannot fodder off a Forma unit, so if you want to get some premium skills on him, then here are the options. Indignant Bow is already pretty good for Ronan, but still if you want to get some premium options, then you could try and get them, like Rainbow or Plagent Bow. And Deadeye could be an option that you could get because it is the premium special for the archers. Even though Ronan does not have the highest attack stat, still it could be a good premium skill to pick up, like it is for any kind of other archer. And you can try and get attack speed ideal, which can give him the most offenses. And just as a heads up, the attack unity skills are not really going to be too good with Ronan because he can neutralize his own attack debuffs, so not going to be getting the benefit of the attack part of a unity skill. So that's why his options are kind of limited for slot A. You mainly can go with attack speed ideal, which is the most premium option for getting the most offenses. And we do have the speed defense tempo available now, so he could try and use that, and it's a very rare skill to get. Ultimately, he wants to run Null Follow-Up in his slot B, but it is a lot easily available with Divine Codes. So that's why I'll personally try to get the Tempo skill. And the Tempo skill could be a pretty good option if you are trying to give him the weapon of Summer Elincia just to make him a bit more offensive. And then for his slots, you could run Time Pulse so that it can have Deadeye as a 2 cooldown special. That is always going to be amazing with Deadeye, but still you can try and get some other options like the Menace skills or the Pulse Smoke. Next month's Holoforms is going to be having Binding Blade units, and we definitely have a couple of seasonals from that game, so I feel like they're probably going to be having most of the Bridal Banner here except for Bridal Catria, obviously, and they have put Bridal Juno in the Divine Code section. And as we have seen time and time again, many of the Divine Codes unit do end up in Holoforms, so she could be an option. And even Spring Fear has been given out in the Limited Ephemera manual, so I can see her being given out in Holoforms as well. And because she's a seasonal unit, she could end up getting a weapon refine after a couple of years. Same goes for Brattle Shana. And then Roy is just so popular, he could be an option for the colorless pool. And they haven't really put colorless Roy yet in the Holoform, so he could be an option. But if they want to go with, you know, some different options, then a green could be a really interesting option, and she's also quite popular. Spring Narcian is the 4-star focus unit of the Spring Banner, where he was present, so they could try and put him as they've put some of the 4-star focuses before. Luke could be an option because he did get his weapon refined recently, and Summer Volt could also be an option because he's a seasonal unit. And Groom Soul can also happen, but I'm not really too sure if they're going to be putting him because he's not exactly a preferred weapon staff unit like Sara or Brattle Fiorm, which we did get many months ago. So that is going to be my speculation. The Brattle units definitely have a pretty good chance because they like putting these seasonal units. Come back to this video a month later to see if I was right or wrong. So make sure to share this video with your friends who are trying to get a Forma unit from this Hall of Forms. And if you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave a like and a comment. Helps me tremendously, and if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks or by becoming a YouTube member down below. And for more FEH videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as flash status against null counter disrupt. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.